Blind ignorance of people not willing to take the time to update themselves about what they are actually wrong about because they are too afraid to be incorrect, like it's gonna hurt their ego or some stick. Blind ignorance of people not willing to take the time to update themselves about what they are actually wrong about because they are too afraid to be incorrect, like it's gonna hurt their ego or some stick. That's it. That's really it. So much of the fighting is put into society by resources being taken by a few. The false scarcity gets people to fight for the little and work harder for little. Look at Africa, the most abundant continent on earth, and yet it's the poorest. If any African nation or leader tries to stand up and create peace, they are majorly opposed. Many leaders of African countries are put into power by the wealthy of other nations to keep up the illusion of scarcity. We have had education for centuries, and yet somehow African countries have been neglected until recently. All greed, destroying the planet because a few want to feel better than the others. It really is greed. In The Man in the High Castle, the Nazis planned one final war to bring everlasting peace. To them, peace meant extinguishing their enemies so there would be, in theory, nobody left to have a war with. Yep, humans 100%. Reminds me of that X-Files episode where Mulder asks the genie for world peace and he becomes the only person on Earth. Greed is bad, but apathy is a big enabler of it. Beat me to it. I was thinking the same thing. Humanity will never be a tribe of one, was what Amos was getting at, I think. So you can have peace on Earth as long as you can stick-talk the Martians and oppress the Belt. They are so tasty. It makes sense why we have wars over them. A bunch of bastards. Even people who are interested in peace can have such skewed ideas of what peace looks like. They are not any help either. Peace often means living with unsavory things because there's nothing you can do about them without escalating. This is the way. It's not money rich people crave. It's the power that it gives. To the point they'll even kill you or outcast you for being different. This species is a sick joke. This made me laugh. Peace be with you, friend. And may your neighbor's pubic region be forever flea blighted. Any destructive element of religion can be derived from zealous beliefs and dogma. That dogma can be applied to any belief system or ideology and be equally as destructive. There is still a lot of tribalism in all aspects of life, from religion to nationality, from sports to politics. Humans love to put themselves in its us versus them situations. If a utopian society is like an expedition to conquer Everest, we haven't even left our homes yet. Egos, or even the fiction of having their way. Taiwan and China are much happier each claiming all of China than accepting the reality of the past 74 years. Longer, really, since the last time Taiwan and the mainland were under the same rule for more than 5 years was the 19th century, and that wasn't solid enough rule to have a post-colonization period. It was never one big, happy country. One could argue that these fictions allow for peace since they are proxies for wars, but they do encourage the continued irredentism mentioned above. That's the worst. I hope you didn't get your ponytail caught in the undercarriage. The nerve of some people. Well, if the species existed in the same time, then other Homo species, it kinda makes sense in a survival of the species way. I think fundamentally we're just really keen to divide the world into my side and not my side. Our desire to be included and belong somehow needs a group of people who are not included and don't belong. And short of aliens arriving, I don't see what could change that. Didn't have to go any further. Might add some details though, but I'm too tired right now. I agree, but Stalin, Hitler, Mao didn't try and get rid of religion simply because they didn't like it. They did so because it was competition to their own extreme ideologies. From the masses, yes. But even if we could make people more compassionate, the leaders would have to give up their power over us. Money buys power to control. The more money you have means, the more you can control others. Hitler didn't try to get rid of religion. In a roundabout kind of way, that really is the problem. I said, do we have a problem? Money is just one indicator of what greed is truly about, power. Can always have more power. We can divide ourselves repeatedly many times until we're the only member of a group. Unless that is overcome and we embrace differences that are compatible, like not being a violent lunatic, then compassion in this world will be too idealistic. Side note, funny how some groups advocate diversity of how you look on the outside, but are absolutely ruthless if you don't think, act, and share the same opinions as them. Happens quite often in the industry if a visible minority is critical of an equity policy. I answered the question in my head, clicked on the comments, and this was the top comment. If I could give you an award, I would. Stanley Yelnats. Yet, although average people who live in developed countries are part of the few, to be clear, if resources were more even distributed globally, regular people in developed countries would live much worse lives. Well, that's not fair. Have you met all of them? To add to this, seeing yourself as separate from your environment/others, my dog pooping on my neighbor's lawn and him parking on my roses. Lord, give me patience, cause if he gives me strength there will be another war. Not money. Wealth. War and violence existed long before money. The desire for wealth and power has driven almost every war since the dawn of time. There's an X-Files with a genie. I don't even think aliens arriving would get people to unite because there's gonna be people who want to fight the aliens and there's gonna be people who worship the aliens, plus whatever in between. That's kind of the point, that don't look up me. A planet-killing asteroid still won't unite humanity, only further divide it. I was going to say selfishness. I think these are closely related. Not just material greed, social greed. People want everyone else to be like them. That's super prevalent in society today. If you're not fully with whatever movement is coming up, you're labeled their enemy. Then comes war. Once we realize that we are capable of living without conflict, and truth be told some people are objectively wrong, we'll be stepping towards peace. I think the idea that faith is virtuous is the difference here. Sure, weak-minded people can adopt zealous beliefs, but it's mainstream society promoting faith as being good that isolates and cultivates those zealots. I suppose any extremely rigid belief becomes indistinguishable from religion at some point. It read, also religion. Excuse me, are you putting blind faith in this ideology? My HOA president micromanaging my lawn. I don't know, is it the cause or simply a vulnerable spot used by others for greed, religious, or nationalism? Even if every human somehow became an atheist, we would still find reasons to kill each other. Religion is not what causes violence. Radicals and fanatics use it as an excuse or justification for their violence. Most religions see themselves and their God as the sole truth and have historically speaking enforced and spread their claim with bloodshed. Look at how Eastern religious beliefs dictate the social status of women and minorities to this day. How many murders are committed because of religion? Look at the sheer amount of wealth that is owned by e.g. the Catholic Church. So yes, there's your greed, which is covered behind a religious front. Religion is and will always be a major divider of people, and is blocking unity and mental development. I think it's obvious from context and our current cultural moment what kinds of hate and ignorance they are referring to. Yay, I was simplifying it a bit. Hi Dave. Stalin didn't ban the church. He replaced it with communism. He replaced all of the rituals with ones concerning the state. Coming to say this, it didn't work for Oliver Cromwell either. Capitalist greed. This was my #1. Sometimes I wonder if part of what stops us from acknowledging that we are all one tribe is because we don't have an outgroup from another planet. Maybe if there were aliens interacting with us or at least known about, we could somewhat come together in our humanity here. As someone once said, I don't want peace, I want problems always. Yes, I think especially for power there's people with so copious amounts of money, yet are still out there doing so much bullshit. Just because they need to show they have more power or are above everything and everyone. Taking notes, so just kill everybody who isn't like me, and we'll all have world peace. Interesting. There were a lot of things different at the same time in communist Russia. Being irreligious is hard to separate from all the other factors and say whether it helped or hurt. Banning religion is different than making religion not a problem. Banning a religion doesn't get rid of the religious, it suppresses them and creates tension and resentment. If you could just press a button and everyone would think their religion is dumb and give it up, I think loads of things would improve greatly at the same time. I think we'd also see a lot of things still be backwards for different reasons, though. Women's rights would probably still suck in a lot of Muslim-majority countries, just with different justification. Left's in ARK survival evolved. Ferengi rules of acquisition, with the 34th rule stating war is good for business. It is not the only science fiction story relating to uniting humanity. Asimov has a short story about different human civilizations, and the way they unite them is by creating a fake story so that we once again have a common enemy, which is an alien species. I think to some degree our tribalism somewhat crosses borders and sometimes are closer to continental, but still regarding the small issues we even become tribal at a building block level. We need to find more common ground than the differences between us. Level my ego. Slush. And his holes. Second is pride. This is the way. Egos too. Level your ego. We need egos to become the best striker. Jigsaw. My knee-jerk reaction was also religion, but you're right, yes. Religion is a symptom, not a cause. I know so many people who were irreligious or barely practicing that became fundamentalists once something traumatic happened in their life or they lost faith in society for some reason or other. And the reasons don't have to be economic. You said selfishness 3 times. So basically human nature is what's preventing world peace. Well, this statement couldn't be even more true. Easy way is to think how much different roommate can you tolerate. Of course, a whole nation population wouldn't be your roommates, but you jure the idea. The first part isn't the problem, it's the second part. Differences are fine. It's when we classify people as others because of those differences and see them as adversaries or less than us that it's a problem. So it comes down to human nature, ignorance and intolerance. Profits win over egos. Given that Putin and the PRC are godless, fascist, warmongering duckheads, this isn't the whole picture. Agree 100%. This is not the answer. Clearly not. Most wars are simply greed for money or ground, i.e. power. Other than that, wars can be caused by extreme ideologies which include Nazism, communism, and yet also religious extremism. Most of it is socialist ideology, though, which often even bans religious practice because the regime wants to monopolize civilian participation. Not to mention the plethora of things developed by religion that facilitate peace. These are the waters we're swimming in, so it's difficult to notice, so we take it for granted. And true, but that's an unrealistic hypothetical. Religion isn't going anywhere, and it's the cause of a lot of hatred between people. So I can't hate someone who killed my children, so I can't hate great pests. Ignorance to what exactly? Human nature is not static, it can be changed, and it's affected by its environment. Also,